What's up everybody, VMods here with a new requested video. You might have seen some parts of my workshop, and since people asked me to show it, I thought why not. As a result, I'm going to give you a tour of my workshop and I will show you all the storage modules and cabinets I use and quickly going over some of the tools I have and use every day. So let's not linger any further and dive right into it. Let's start with where it all begins. My workspace where I build my model kit. I think many people can relate to this. You start with a couple of tools and soon those couple of tools turn into a massive number of different nippers, cutters, files, etc. I had to come up with a solution to get everything organized. If things are a mess around me, I can't work properly. So I stumbled upon a company called HobbyZone. They make these small modules that you can buy separately and establish your own workspace by the way you desire it. Since I plan to buy some new modules, I will save your time to explain how you build them and will make a separate video about that. If the video is out, I will probably leave it down in the description. As you can see, they have all sorts of modules available. Starting from the left, I have a kitchen paper holder. Even though it's extremely simple, I think it's one of the best modules. I just upgraded it with a little gold sticker on it, but the main purpose is to have it at one spot and out of the way to get your paper. You press in the middle to tear off the paper. It's simple, but a must have for me. Underneath is another module that I think you should have if you're planning on getting HobbyZone modules too. Your tools are your weapons and should be stored in a safe and easy to reach place. You can pretty much put everything you need here. Numerous holes are made for different size brushes, but I even store my pencils, my hobby knife and my steel files in here. If you're wondering why my brushes are all over the place, that's because I separated my good brushes from my bad brushes that I use for example for weathering. In the bottom you got storage room for things that don't fit in the holes. I have my big nail files here along with my drill, some knives, my metal edge cutter and a scriber. Inside this space are holes that you can use for your drill bits. But I found because they are so small they wobble around and I just keep them somewhere else. On the right side you have space for your nippers. A little wooden stick is placed to hang your nippers on. Right now I have 7 nippers and plies and there's even enough space left to hang one more. On top is a little shelf that I probably will move to another spot. You can buy these shelves if you have a paint rack and want it on one of your modules. The paint rack only occupies half of the space on top, so you can put these shelves in front of it to fill up space. Right now I have my plastic glue here along with some decal fixes. But recently I have put the paint rack on the wall, and since I started using different paints, I'm planning on buying some more paint storage that will be up here. Speaking about paint, let's move over to the various kinds of paints I currently use and the storage options that come with it. Like I said, I recently put the Vallejo paint rack on the wall. I think it looks cool and saves me some space on the rest of the modules. As you can see, you can stow away quite a lot of bottles and they will never fall out and are easy to reach. On the top I have a corner module that primarily includes weathering paints from AK, some pigments from Ammo by Meg and my favorite paints, the metal colors from Vallejo. Right now I still have my Mr. Hobby paint stored here, but those will move over to the left where I will put another paint module because I'm planning on buying the whole range of metal colors by Vallejo. Underneath the paint corner I have a little open space for all kinds of things really. I have my paint mixer here, a little can that I use to drop in water when I clean my airbrush and my miniature holders from Citadel. Furthermore, I got these storage trays that you normally use to store screws and nails in, but I use them for my decals. The other one is used to store small parts. At the bottom level I have a corner with drawers. In here you find some Citadel paint, steel mixing trays and pipettes. Next up are my Revel paints, which I don't use much anymore. Then why do you have so many, I hear you ask? Well, when I started model building I built a lot of Revel kits, and because of that I bought the recommended paint that was described in the manual. But after some years of building you get to know different kinds of paint brands, and back in the days I also didn't have an airbrush, so these paints were fine using a brush. Nowadays I found them too thick and inconsistent. Yes, you can thin them, but you have to use a lot of thinner and other brands are much better to use with an airbrush. Long story short, I try to use them to empty the bottles because I think it's a waste to throw them out. But back to the paint rack. These are most likely my favorite because you can store all sizes of paints. The best thing though is the narrow gap underneath that I use to store away my scissors, my drill bits, my toothbrush. No, I don't use them to brush my teeth, but I use them to clean my airbrush or clean parts when I scribe them. Over here I got a little palette for hand painting and an oversized brush to clean my workspace from knobs and gates. On the first level I have all the things that I use the most while painting, and I will quickly go over them. In the first drawer I have my mixing sticks, and I make them from empty runners. So guys, don't just throw away your runners, but make mixing sticks. Next to that I have some lollipop sticks, and you never know when you need them. And on the right I have cotton swabs that I need to refill by the looks of it. Furthermore I have some spare parts here, my airbrush clips which you can't have enough of, and all sorts of glue like fast drying glue and transparent glue. At the bottom I have these bigger and perfect drawers for holding 30 ml bottles. I use these to mix my own colors, or when I have some leftovers I can put them in here and avoid them from drying. As you can tell, I like saving up and don't like to waste. Next to the bottles are my mixing cups. I use these to mix my paints before I put them in my airbrush. Usually it's just paint and thinner, but they go along perfectly with my mixing sticks. I have these smaller ones that I use most often because the bigger cups have little plastic pieces underneath that are in the way when you mix. I have some clips used to hang your clothes on, but they are ideal for when you glue parts together or if you want to hang runners on the line after priming. Next up is an open module. I store my 30 ml bottle with paint that I mix, my tape, some paint and my hand brush cleaner. And on this spot I have two long drawers. I have to reorganize them because I started using other sanding brands like Madworks and Gun Primer. But I have all my sanding paper, sponges, etc. in here. The last drawer is used to store leftover decals and some new decals that I still have to use or plan to use. Next on the right you can find my runner organizer, also from Hobbyzone as you can see. It's great for smaller kits, but when you're building master grade kits or perfect grade kits, you find that one just isn't enough. Moving on, I have my Airbrush Station here in front of the window. I can easily place the tube through the window and get rid of the fumes. It has a built-in LED light and it's easy to disassemble to take it anywhere. This is the first pistol that I got. It's really cheap and I did a lot of work on it. I bought it because I wanted to see if airbrushing was something I enjoyed doing before investing in a good one. But I still use this one for priming. Moving down is why I have some drawers with random stuff. Some nails that I use as weight on dioramas or airplanes, some glue, cheap paints, knives and my little screwdriver kit. I also have my airbrush from Harder & Steinbeck here, which is my current pistol. This right here is what I use a lot too. Here you can find all my primers, my airbrush thinners and cleaners and varnishes. On the right I store some 2 big decal sheets to put in the drawers and some bases. Here are 2 spots I keep a lot of random stuff that I either use to test paints or effects on, or stuff that I think might be handy to keep to customize stuff. Like styrofoam, metal rods that I made at the uni, and I also have my hairdryer here to speed up the drying progress of acrylic paint. And on the floor you can find my air compressor for my airbrush. I've put it on a rubber mat to reduce the vibration and noise. Up on the wall I have my Diorama Rack. Here you can find all kinds of materials to make scenery. I have different sized stone, grass, electric wire, trees, sponges and some other random stuff. Underneath my desk is a little chest of drawers on wheels. This is one of the first things I bought when I wanted to expand my workspace. The wheels make it really nice to move around and put stuff on it. Put some paint or tools on it and moving it around your workshop like a doctor makes it phenomenal. In the first drawer I have all my manuals. I like to track my history as a builder. The second drawer has a lot of big brushes that won't fit my tool rack. I used to paint on canvas too, so a lot is still in here. In the next drawer I got some spray cans and some trees to make diorama. And here I got my watering pencils from AK and different types of grass. And the 2 bottom drawers are used for random stuff and are stock, like double-sided tape, airbrush cleaner, hot glue sticks, bin bags, etc. On the other side of the workshop is where I mainly keep my planes or gunpla that are waiting to be customized. I have my Zaku on top, which is my current project. I got my planes here and of course a little spot for my cats, because they like to chill here and annoy me while building. But who can blame them? And last but not least are my 2 cabinets where all my gunpla stand in all their glory. It's my favorite spot in the room and always gives me the motivation to keep building and get better. It reminds me of all the effort I put into these kits and all the good stuff that came with them. It helps me progress and gives me a feeling of proudness. And here you have it, the whole workshop tour. It took me quite some time to put everything together, and if you're thinking of doing something similar, I advise you to do it step by step. Think about what you desire and what you need. Make a plan and start building your dream workspace just like your model kits, one step at a time. And I would like to know what your dream space would look like. So leave me a message down in the comments below, and if you have questions about my workspace, please feel free to ask. Now your last step in your instruction manual is to subscribe to my channel and hit that bell button. Follow me on Instagram to check out all my progress on my recent builds and stay up to date. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Enjoy building!